Hey, for those who don't know me, my name's Burt Bill, and for those who do, thanks for watching my videos, and I hope you stick with me for my journey with YouTube. Hopefully, this video will be longer than the last. I know what you're gonna say, Burt, where's the Minecraft video? Guys, it's coming. It's just gonna take a while for me to edit it, mainly because we haven't filmed it yet. Anyways, in this video, I will be discussing a topic that has always fascinated me, and something I like to bore my friends with. The history of games. Games.
This guy stinks!
Yeah, I know, it's a bit cliche for a video essay YouTuber, specifically the retro gaming variety, to talk about the history of games, but this will be the special Burt Bill edition. I will primarily be talking about the early age of video games and the famous feud between everyone's favorite blue hedgehog and Italian plumber. I'm also trying something new because according to my brother, my last video wasn't structured enough, so this video will be split into segments. The first is called It's the 1970s. Disco was popping off, email had just been invented, and The Godfather premiered, becoming a cultural touchstone and influencing cinema for decades. Bushnell and Dabney were two friends. Together, they designed a game called Computer Space, the first commercially available arcade video game. But they wanted more. Little did they know, they would go on to influence the foundation of modern gaming. In 1972, Nolan K. Bushnell and Ted Dabney founded Atari, with a simple motto: go big or go home. Pretty basic, but good nonetheless. Bushnell and Dabney were moving into a very underdeveloped Silicon Valley, which I imagine would look something like this. In the middle of what seemed like nowhere, they created an empire, where their work ethic was work hard, play hard. Again with these slogans. They didn't care what you wore to work, or when you came into work. They would only focus on your output. Atari was very popular, and they built their empire by making hit arcade games, such as Centipede, Missile Command, and Pong. They also made game consoles and home computer systems. They even created the first console with removable cartridges. Huh? What? They didn't? But I swear... Then who? According to my sources, the creator of the first console with removable cartridges was Gerald Anderson Lawson, who created the Channel F. The Channel F video game console was the genuine first console created that allowed for removable cartridges. Lawson was the only African American in the gaming industry at the time. Yeah, they weren't too big on inclusivity back then. This thing was a technological marvel. Up to this point, Atari had been making home consoles, but they only had one game per console, and it was physically coded into the system. Lawson was an electronic engineer, working on a video game console in his free time. His bosses got wind of this and brought him in to create their console, which would soon be called the Channel F. The Channel F is a big part of gaming history that I feel many people don't talk about. This is ultimately due to Atari being the more popular out of the two, because of their already established household name, and it meant they smashed the Channel F into redundancy. This is a shame because that means people ultimately gravitate more towards the Atari 2600 when talking about the first console with removable cartridges instead of the Channel F. It's 1978, only a few years after the Atari 2600 and the Channel F were released, and disco's still strong. Star Wars was released, the Equal Rights Amendment was passed, there was also Watergate and Vietnam, but Americans weren't the only thing invading. Yeah, I thought that would be. Space Invaders is a game that needs no introduction. A game so deep in pop culture that when I was looking into places it's been referenced, I couldn't find an end. For those who don't know what Space Invaders is, it's a 1978 shoot-'em-up arcade game made by Tomohiro Nishikado, and was the first fixed shooter, and set a template for the shoot-'em-up genre. The game was so popular that arcades in Japan started being called invader houses. It became so popular that a little card company trying to make it big as a game studio wanted to capitalize off its success. Nintendo. The household name that your mum calls anything with a screen. And of course the creator of everyone's favorite blue-collar worker. No, not him. Before the Italian in overalls, they made a game called Radar Scope. which at its core is a ripoff of Space Invaders, but has its own unique look. Radarscope was initially released in 1979 in Japan and made its way to the US in 1980, but it didn't do very well. Apparently, there were hundreds of units sitting in warehouses collecting dust. No one wanted to buy any of the arcade cabinets because it looked too much like Space Invaders. Fun fact, the creator of Mario and Zelda, the great Shigeru Miyamoto, contributed to this project as well. The fail of Radarscope pushed Nintendo to make Donkey Kong, which would ultimately launch the career of Mario. Mario, originally known as Jumpman, made his first appearance in Donkey Kong, which released in 1981. Donkey Kong put Nintendo on the map. The success of Donkey Kong and other successful arcade games funded Nintendo's first console, the NES. I talk about the NES in my previous video and how it kickstarted my love for retro consoles, so watch that video after this if you want to hear more about my personal opinions on the console. The console was a massive hit, and its flagship game was Super Mario Bros., the successor to 1983's arcade game Mario Bros. I remember once my dad took me to an arcade, and I was so set on playing Mario Bros. Boy was I surprised when I saw this. After the release of Mario and the NES, Nintendo skyrocketed. I mean, they single-handedly brought back interest in home consoles. Other companies couldn't compete. All except one, that is. Sega is the company responsible for, well, this.
Hey, there's no time to relax. Shimmy, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yeah. Drake, la la la.
Sega was originally established in 1940 as Standard Games in Honolulu, Hawaii, later moving to Japan under the name we all know and love, Sega. Sega had just made an 8-bit console called the Sega Master System, which was being outperformed by the more beloved NES. Sega had had enough with Nintendo's monopoly over the console industry, so they employed Thomas Kalinske, an American businessman and CEO of Sega America. He served as almost a general for the fight against Nintendo. After all, Mario was one of the best-selling games of all time, and Sega wanted to be bigger, better, and well, faster than Nintendo. So they created the perfect soldier to fight against that middle-aged Italian man. A blue hedgehog? Sonic the Hedgehog follows Sonic, an anthropomorphic blue hedgehog, as he fights Eggman. Sega deliberately designed Sonic to be faster, stronger, and cooler than Mario. I mean, there's nothing that screams cool like a hedgehog with Jordans. Sega so wanted to be better than Mario that they resorted to petty advertisements.
The Sega Genesis has blast processing. Super Nintendo doesn't. So what's blast processing do? And what if you don't have blast processing?
This was the main ad campaign for the fight, and a way to promote the release of their new console, the Sega Genesis, or the Mega Drive outside North America. The Sega Genesis is a 16-bit, 4th generation home video game console, and was Sega's third console and successor to the Master System. It released in 1988 in Japan, and 1989 in North America. The Genesis was supposed to directly combat Nintendo's new Super Entertainment System, and it didn't do a great job. This obviously had to do with Nintendo's monopoly over the video game console market at the time, and their already established household name. Sounds pretty familiar to me. The Mega Drive did better in the UK than it did in the States. And so this battle raged on, and it lasted about a decade before the smoke cleared and yeah, Nintendo won. It's generally agreed upon that Nintendo won the war, because of the fact that the NES, the Game Boy, the Nintendo 64, and the GameCube sold more worldwide than their Sega equivalents. And because of this, Sega eventually dropped out of the console market as a whole. After Sega's defeat, sadly, they let go of all their original ideas, instead deciding to rip off Nintendo, or make buggy and unfinished games, like Sonic and the Secret Rings, or the worldwide favorite, Sonic X for the Leapfrog? The only good games being made are by hardcore fans, such as Sonic Mania, an amazing fan-made game that got funded by Sega, and that takes place after Sonic 3. A lot of people saw this as Sega's rise from the ashes, coming back to life like a phoenix. Never mind. Although Sega has seen great success in the film arena, some saying that the first Sonic movie made studios interested in video game film adaptations. Funnily enough, people widely believe that the first Mario movie is what completely turned studios away from the video game adaptations to begin with. So, I guess good on you, Sega. Never mind. The fans yet again had to save this project, demanding they change the design for Sonic. A lot of people, including myself, thought the original design was just a way for them to stir up clout and get people interested in the movie. I chose to believe that because hopefully Sega isn't completely incompetent. Sega and Nintendo's war paved the way for future competitors, like PlayStation, which modernized 3D gaming, or the first computer game, Doom. Sega, Nintendo, and Atari gave the building blocks for one of the biggest industries in the world. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, like and subscribe. I'm really enjoying making these videos so I can grow my channel. These videos do take a while to make, with editing, recording, and school, but bear with me while I churn these videos out slowly. Like, really slowly. I will be making that Minecraft video, just need to record it, but for now, this is Burt Bill signing off. Oh, wait. I recently went to a retro video game market and vlogged with my friends, so I might be putting that up on the channel. Let's see. Oh, for real this time, this is Burt Bill, signing off.